Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. This is Jess, and I am here with Mr. Grant's Rants Hollywood Talk himself. Please welcome Grant Rutter. Grant.
Hi.
How are you?
It's so nice to do a podcast in person. How are you?
I'm great.
So nice. Like this
that's
feels.
a lie. I'm not great. Like it's January.
Yeah.
It's cold.
I know. Well, I told myself today when I was in the shower, I'm like, nope. We're not going to do any complaining about weather. It's January. You know what you got yourself into. It's New York. Deal with it. We're not going to start complaining from now. And then I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, Grant, how about February? Can we start complaining? No. But in March, I'll be complaining. I'm just going to tell you from now. By March 1st, all bets are off. I can only fake it for so long.
So you've been doing your podcast for over 5 years.
Yeah.
Grant's Rants.
Yep.
And before that, you were a panelist on AfterBuzz TV.
Yeah. While I was doing that, I also started Grant's Rants too. That kind of like fed the audience, from one into the other. AfterBuzz, which is no more, it's just a total shame, was a great like launching pad for me. And I like to say that I was one of the very first to talk about housewives and reality TV in a critical way. Now there was a lot of recapping before, but I would be the first one to be like, I don't know if I'm the first, but I would always like to call out like I saw it. I think people really appreciated that. I'm not one to go beat by beat. I'm more one to question things. And by having a background in development in reality TV and working on those shows in the past, like the real heyday of it all, I know, like you with deep dives, kind of how the sausage is made. So you're able to call it out. And that's what I think my angle was of just keeping it real. I'm not one to come in to celebrate the brand and say everything is great and wonderful. I'm here to say like, here's like probably how this went down. And here's why I think this is a bunch of nonsense.
How did you get the job at AfterBuzz initially?
It's funny because it was right after college, and that was the scariest time of my life. I feel like for a lot of people where you're in that like, you're not quite in the professional space yet. Like you're waiting for something to hit. So I was up for the NBC Page program and for AfterBuzz, which I kind of just like hit them up and was like, I'm in LA. This is an odd subject, but my favorite show at the time was The Celebrity Apprentice. And so they were covering Celebrity Apprentice, and I was like, okay, I need to get involved with this somehow because I have so many thoughts and opinions. And I would call it, and then I was invited to the studio and what have you. But so that came the same day that the NBC Page program came, like after months of nothing. So like both those opportunities, I'm still riding the wave from both of those. I mean, I've been able to spin that and turn that into a career and then a little bit of a media following with a podcast. So, I'm still kind of riding the wave from that day in 2012.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So wait, with the NBC Page program, were you possibly going to move to New York?
No, that was LA-based program. I was in the LA one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you're originally from Rhode Island, right?
Yeah.
Got it. Wow. So this is what I was going to say. It's fascinating. So you lived in, how long did you live in LA?
About 12 to 13 years.
And this fall, you made the decision in the middle of the pandemic to leave LA. Were you living in West Hollywood?
I was, yeah.
To leave West Hollywood and move to New York City, and you're now living in the West Village.
Yes.
Which is very appropriate.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it was a goal of mine.
How did you come to this decision? Like in the midst of the pandemic?
Yeah, I haven't really talked about it too much, even on my own podcast, which I probably should, but I was so unhappy in LA for so long. Like I'd say for the last 3 years, I've been trying to like plot my way out of there any way I could.
Why were you unhappy there?
It was just a very empty existence for me. I really was unhappy with just like the way people were, but also I would try so much to be able to find my tribe and my group, and people would move. It's a very transient city. And I mean, I reflect on friendships and very few I stay in touch with. It's kind of sad, except for my AfterBuzz friends who are legit friends for life. And, those who know me, they appear on the podcast. Those are my real friends.
I know you're close with Zach Peter, who I've worked with a bit.
Yeah, we've become friends over the last, I don't want to mean this in a shady way, but we've become friends. We weren't really cool with each other at AfterBuzz too much, and then afterwards we found like a real mutual respect for each other, and now we're cool. And I think he would say the same thing. We would kind of jab each other, you know what I mean? But like now, like, yeah, I mean, we're both out here, just pounding the pavement, and we're covering a lot of the same stuff. But it was just very empty for me. I'm an East Coast kid. I can't say I miss any part of it. right now, but there are people that I miss. But it was a long time coming, and I thought the key to get out of there was to get a job here. So I would come to New York a couple times a year and take a bunch of meetings, and nothing ever came through. But like, it's amazing how things do work out. I ended up just deciding, like you said, in October, like, I'm done. So I left on my own and thought I would just, figure it out. I was going to take my job with me, which was producing for Access Hollywood for their podcast. And then, once I made that change, a new job came into my life with HBO. And so that was able to kind of push everything that I've been waiting on for years forward. So that's why I'm not complaining.
Amazing.
But I will complain about the weather in March.
So tell me about because you are a professional. What's nice is you actually are a professional. You get paid to produce podcasts, like before you were doing it for NBC.
Yeah.
And now you're doing it for HBO. So what is your day-to-day like? What's your job like?
Right now it's a lot of meetings and Zoom. There's a lot of development going on. It's, the beginning of the first quarter, and I joined to the end of the fourth quarter. So it's been a lot of projections and planning out our slate and what we want to do, and really looking at what shows are going to be priorities for us if that should come up as they want a podcast. I mean, we're not really pitching ourselves as much as it's who wants, it's like they come to us or whatever. So it's been great in that respect because everybody that I work with really gets it. They really know the business, and I'm not just saying this. They really do know what the trends are. It's nice. I don't feel like we have to argue. In my last job, I'd have to make so many arguments for why things were what they were just because of my own experience, and they didn't have that experience. And I thought I was led to believe I was there to kind of instruct certain people and at least kind of best practice of things. But nobody wants to be told anything. So with this group, they already know. So we are able to have intelligent conversations and things make sense. And so I was happy about that. And it just continues to go in that direction. I do want to be able to actually produce. And it looks like my month of February, end of January is going to be very busy. So I'm going to get the opportunity to do that. I'm talking physical production, with talent. Recording, editing, and kind of get out of some of these meetings a little bit because I want to be able to be creative again. So I'm hoping that I can continue to develop more there. It's so early. I just started.
2 questions since I have an HBO man right in front of me.
Yeah.
Number 1, do we know when Bethenny's HBO Max show is going to debut?
I only have information for the first quarter of the year, but I don't have any information on that. I haven't seen anything, and I don't even know if I could say it if I did, but I honestly have not seen anything about that.
I know a producer, a guy who is a long-time Real Housewives of New York producer, jumped on that show. I don't know if she handpicked him.
Probably. I'm sure she has something to do with it.
He's still working on the current season of RHONY. They're I think they may still be filming, or they're certainly doing interviews, but I have a hunch that they may still be doing some filming into 2021. And I saw him tagged in something that Leah had posted. He was there. He was literally there. And I know that he completed, I did hit him up. They did complete the entire filming of her show. And he was saying spring. No real month, but just spring.
I don't know anything, but I keep forgetting that she's going to be on HBO Max. It feels like such an odd fit for me, in my opinion, but okay. Yeah.
So second HBO related question. So this is specific to content. How would, let's say, The Undoing was probably one of the bigger HBO shows that's come out in terms of creating an actual cultural moment, because we weren't binging it. The entire collective was sort of unified in watching it week to week. Everybody, it was really a nice moment sort of at the end of 2020 when everyone was watching this one show, trying to figure out and talking and dissecting.
Right.
Here's the question. How would the HBO produced Undoing podcast for The Undoing been different from every other this podcast, and not that I covered The Undoing, but every other podcast where they were recapping and analyzing and
right. I mean, well, you've got talent on the show who they seem to be game players. Their game is what I mean. They'll do press and promote it. I know Nicole has been really into the show, a big supporter of it. So I feel like you have access to people like her, You know,
So Leah, you would basically get Hugh Grant.
that's who I would
yeah.
pitch for. I don't know what would end up happening, but I mean, yeah, I'd say you got to get these people out here. I mean, this is, really unique to the podcast audience. I mean, we've heard from how many reality stars by now, like, the TV people, the smaller TV people will probably have their own, but like someone like, them, like that's a get. That's still a get. Like getting A-listers on a podcast, I believe is still a get. But the cinematography on that show was incredible, and the locations, and like just for me, if I was like a listener, I would want to hear about actually filming that show. I know that I think Nicole said publicly, like, it took them like 5 months to shoot the show. Like, that's unique for a TV, especially for a 6-part series. So I want to know. And she said they shot it out of order. How do you do anything like that? They
shot The Undoing out of order.
Yeah. How do you prepare for that? Not only just as like an actor, we're trying to be in that present moment of where you are in the story, which was like all over the place, but like, just locations manager. How do you support that? I mean, I think that's interesting to me, but.
And so overall, how have you enjoyed, actually, okay, number one, how have you enjoyed actually now living here? I know the weather is not it's beyond cold right now, but aside from that, how have you actually enjoyed the people that you are meeting here in the city? And also, how did you find your apartment? Because I know you got a sick deal. You are one of the people who have been able to capitalize on the collapse of the rental market in New York City.
Well, that was intentional for sure. That was like my official like blessing in the universe to be like, all right, I'm doing it. Because once I was like, I can get something that I really want in a neighborhood that I really want, like, sure, let's go. When I think of the price that I pay versus what I could get somewhere else, it's even in LA, it's a little nauseating. But I'm paying for a lot of different things, and I'm paying for the future. And once things turn around, God willing, I will be in the middle of it all. I'm very happy with where I am in the West Village. So like, let's hope that things change for the better. And I hope that the area that we're in will be one of the first places to kind of kick back. I hope, just because it's like there's a lot of foot traffic here. There's a lot of money in the city. There's a lot of money in these neighborhoods and these streets. So I'm hoping that we'll see the first wave of kind of some type of reintroduction to whatever normal is. But I mean, it does feel like we're still here at like rock bottom every day, waiting for things to turn around. So it's a little nerve-wracking. But what was the question? How have I felt about people in New York?
Yeah, like how have you liked the actual? So I know, just like us hanging out, you've talked about how dating in New York versus LA, and you told me like your number one complaint when you would meet guys in LA is that nobody had a job. And nobody really had a big aspiration, it seems.
Yeah. No, I know it. This is interesting because I never talk about my dating, but I'll talk about it. Yeah, I mean, nobody had a job. No, it was difficult to connect with people because I was working around the clock, and no one would understand. That was the hardest part, because I can understand if people don't want to work the crazy 80-hour weeks. Not everybody does. But I would constantly feel judged because I was tired or busy or unavailable, and like people wouldn't understand. Like they're like, just relax, like don't do it, like just put it off. And it's like, I can't. Like there just wasn't like a real understanding of like an adult responsibility.
But how were those people paying their rent?
They, for the most part, this has been my experience, people were getting family help, but they were working jobs that were smaller, just to kind of say, I'm thinking of one roommate in particular who just kind of held a job so he could tell his parents like, hey, I'm not out here just fooling around. But like they didn't need it. They didn't need to take on that opportunity, where they're fortunate in a way where they did have some type of like safety net or financial net. I didn't have anybody and still don't. So I needed to figure it out. If I wanted to live on my own, which was very important to me and my own mental health, I had to work extra hard to be able to live on my own. So that's where my motivation came from. But, if people don't need to fight for it, then they're not going to, and you got to fight for things these days. Any type of job is a fight. I've had it.
You had it. And how does that compare to the people in New York, new people that you've met?
I don't know. I mean, it's a mix. It's so early still. I will say I met, his name is Grant, a new friend who is a listener of my podcast. And, I just feel like we really
Another
hit it
Grant?
off. Yes. I was like, if you come on the show, like, it'll finally be grammatically correct, because I don't have an apostrophe S, So I'm not going to do the apostrophe S because it's like the Hollywood sign.
Would you ever date somebody with your own name?
Oh, at this point, absolutely. Even if the name was Grant Rutter, sure. Yeah, I mean, who cares?
This first, same exact name.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I know I'm not going to discriminate at this hour. No, I mean, I'm 31. I'm not ancient, but like, let's go.
TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was really great to meet someone like him because I feel like we became fast friends. And that is something that's hard to do in LA because there's just so many distractions. But like, it's like, cool. Like that's encouraging. And I hope that will replicate over time. The more people I meet. But the thing is, I am relying on people like you and friends to introduce me to other people because I'm what can I possibly do? There's no bar to go to. I mean, I can't really do much. I'm not going to meet anybody in a workout class. I'm not going to, meet anybody, doing anything too different. So it's just going to be like, go out, walk the dog, go back, work, to walk the dog. So like, how do I really branch out? So it's been a challenge. It's not the challenge I wanted to face in a new city, but here we are.
How did you find your apartment?
I had started looking at places like months ahead of time, just to watch the market to see what neighborhoods were really dropping. Because at the beginning of the pandemic, and we're talking like June, certain neighborhoods had a lot of availability, and you can imagine which ones are the less desirable ones, and then like it started to come into the city and started to hit neighborhoods that I wanted to be in, like Chelsea. And I was like, okay, let me see what is around here. Like, that would be great. Then my goal became, how close can I live to the High Line? One of my favorite places of all time. And I was like, if I'm even within like a 20-minute walk of the High Line, like I'd be so happy. So then I started to kind of look in that vicinity. And then the West Village started to open up. And I was like, really? Like, I really didn't believe it at first. But once I found out that I could manage it, I was like, okay, well, then I'm just going to focus exclusively here. So then I came to New York for 2 weekends and looked at 20 places and walked through them.
You looked at 20 apartments.
Yeah, in 4 days. And I did it. It was, there's some real crap out there, man. And they want a lot of money. And there's holes in the floor and all this stuff. And I'm like, how much are you charging for this? Like,
there's a guy. Do you know this guy, Cash Jordan?
Yes.
I am upset. Have you ever met him?
I have not met him. I've heard different things about him, but I do follow him.
I recently, I think over like the holidays, it was one of those like scrolling things, and somehow his content got pushed to me. This guy is a New York City rental broker. He seems that like he's exclusively deals in rentals.
Yeah.
And he blew up, I think, on TikTok, and then he transferred over to YouTube. And as opposed to like the Ryan Serhant, like $1 million listing model, he is showing you like the shittiest apartments. Like part of his shtick is like, let's compare apartment A to apartment B and figure out what's better, what's worse, or if they both suck.
Yeah.
His stuff is just really entertaining. Just if people who are like into real estate, like,
he gave some good tips, which I followed about. I don't remember any of them now, but he did give some good tips about like negotiating with like the broker and all this stuff, and I appreciated a lot of that. So I watched his stuff, and that's kind of another way I tracked the state of the market here, because he was pretty honest, and he was like, this is awful. He's like, this place last year went for like $2,500. Now it's like going for like $1,900. And no, I can't move 3-bedroom apartments. I know that's a big thing. 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom apartments. Yeah.
Because they're meant to all be shared. Like what 3 people who are not related, how could 3 people like that be aligned? If you're not a couple, like it's very hard to know that 3 people aren't going to be following the exact same level of safety and protocol.
Yeah, he was a good one overall. I still follow him.
Me too. I watch every video. Like this guy is Cash Jordan, whatever. This is not. I would love to somehow like get him on the podcast. I don't know how he would do it.
I'm sure he'd do it. Yeah, I'm sure he'd do it.
I would just love to get to know him a little bit. So what was it about your apartment? So you looked at 20. Why was yours the one?
Well, I narrowed it down to 2, both on the same street, and was like, I don't know, there's pluses and negatives to both between like square footage, and another one was closer to where I really wanted to be, and like basically I set up for the one that was the closest to the High Line, which is really, really where I wanted to be, and I was super happy with that one. And I did sacrifice a little bit with square footage, but it was like these were 2 renovated apartments, so it's like 2 renovated apartments in New York on the same street in your price range. It was a tough decision, And I heard
a rumor that you don't love your brick wall.
Yeah, I don't love exposed brick.
Pete, that's like what people love in New York City. That's like people like move to Soho to have like exposed brick.
Yeah, I know. People love it when they see it, and I'm like, you can take it. But like,
you know, you can paint it. Paint it white.
Yeah, I'm afraid to do that because then what do I do when I move out? It's all like it's like original like brick, you know. I don't want to screw it up on like the owner. But what happened was there was a fireplace in there, and it was really, really nice, had good bones fireplace, but I redid the whole thing and myself by hand. And underneath like years of like neglect is this beautiful marble fireplace. So like I was very, very happy with that. So I can accept the brick wall because now the fireplace is a little more appropriate. And you know, it's hard. I'm in the market trying to find a big mirror to put over the fireplace because I have these 10-foot ceilings. So if you put
10-foot ceilings?
Yeah. So if you put anything in there though, it looks dwarfed, you know, it looks like tiny.
Yeah.
So, of course, you can go to Anthropologie and buy a mirror for $1,000, you know, and it'll go from floor to ceiling on the, you know, look gorgeous. So, a gilt mirror, gorgeous, you know. But, like, I mean, I'm not spending $1,000 on a mirror.
There's plenty of things on.
I don't even know how I would even get that up the staircase. You know, I mean, it's like I'd have to do it. You're on the second floor? Yeah, I'd have to do it. So I'm not interested in doing that, but I will get something close enough. And I think I finally narrowed it down. But yeah, I mean, I can't justify spending $1,000 on a mirror.
No, that's ridiculous.
No, I considered it for like all of 2 minutes, and I was like, Grant, no, you're not doing this.
All right, so let's get serious.
Okay,
this has all been fun. What are you watching right now? Like, what is your pulse take on the state of Bravo? Which shows are you watching right now? Somehow Below Deck is the #1 franchise on Bravo, ahead of, I think, even Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Well, that just goes to show the Housewives fatigue. That doesn't surprise me. I never could take to Below Deck, and I've tried. I mean, they used to play it. I mean, they still do. It's on constantly in the daytime. So I would just try to catch some in the morning. That's just like in repeats. I don't care about that show at all. I do like Kate Chastain quite a bit. I think she's a great personality to come out of that world. But I don't care about Below Deck. I wish I did. But I think that is like... Housewives is getting old to a lot of people, and it's kind of all been done, and I have my problems with all of them, you know, to a degree. But I get why people are like, what's next? And that's why you're seeing a show like 90 Day, which isn't even new either.
Do you watch that?
Yeah, I watch a little bit.
Oh, wow.
But 90 Day Fiancé is another one where it's like people are like really into it because they're just so desperate for some, like, what's next? I put in a Slack channel at work, like, what's going on with Bravo development? Like, it's like, what, I don't know what's going on because we used to have like announcements of like, there are 6 new shows. This show's coming out next month, and then the next month, and then we've got 4 that are in development. Some are in production. There was always something to look forward to. They did the scripted content that didn't really take off. Then they did the Friday nights, the Home by Bravo on Friday. That didn't really go too far. So I think they're in a development slump over there. But I'm also not seeing enough like chances being taken. Like there was like every other month there was a new group of people that were being put together in a docu-follow series, and I'm just not seeing it. Like I don't even know what they have in development or what's coming out.
First 3 shows I want you to kind of give your hot takes on.
Yeah.
#1, Salt Lake City, since that is fully, that we are fully on the air. I know both of us have watched it. OC, just, I don't know if you're watching it, but let's find out. And also Dallas just started, and I did watch historically I've always watched Dallas and enjoyed it. I don't know how far I can get without a Leanne type person who is so polarizing. Like, I love a polarizing leader of a show. Like, somebody's got to be producing this thing in the cast. That's the way I sort of view Housewives. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on those 3.
Well,
Let's start with Salt
I mean,
Lake
I
City.
don't have popular opinions, and that is reflected in that Slack post I was talking about the development.
Let's do it.
People were not happy about that post, and it wasn't anything. It was just like, you know, I'm wondering like what's next. Like I just want to know what to look forward to. But people were like, no, Southern Charm is going to have an incredible season, and I was like, the same Southern Charm that the promo ends with. This is very dark. Like, I mean, it's all about COVID. Like, if you think for a minute I'm going to watch a show about COVID, and that's why I have not watched OC at all. Not at all. No interest in OC.
OC and Dallas are both about COVID.
Yeah. I have no interest in that. That is a reality I don't need to see. I think it's fine to address it. I think it would be odd if like they didn't address it and everyone's walking around without masks. Like, I get it, but like, I don't need a segment about how people are gaining weight. I don't need to hear about how people are dealing with COVID. So I don't have any interest in that.
Atlanta. Wait, are you watching Atlanta?
Not really, no.
Atlanta too, because they were filming.
I saw the first episode of the season.
It was great.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I liked it.
Episode.
Yeah, that was the really good one with like Portia
Portia.
and all that. Yeah, that was a really good one. Yeah.
Like, give me a show that's dedicating a lot of airtime to Black Lives Matter. That's different, interesting, and important.
And that's what's really going on in their lives. We know about the COVID stuff, but like the stuff that they're covering from the summer is way more important and like than like laughing about people getting their temperature checked. So like I can appreciate that because like yeah, for once they're actually talking about something that's happening in the world and not just about, you know, someone's family secret or something. You know, it's stupid. So I like that. I mean, again, it's reality TV. Like, let's see it play out. Didn't miss Nene at all, by the way. Mm-hmm. They don't need her at all anymore.
After the stuff she said about Andy,
yeah,
he will never take her back.
No, there's no place for her anymore. We're good with that. Like, I don't need to see her. Like, I don't care for her. I never really did. Like, we're okay. So like, just the show is fine without her. I'm fine with it. I do like Candy on this show, and I think she's kind of vital to it.
I love Candy.
Yeah, I think there's a couple housewives that are just vital. And this is my unpopular opinion for most, but like, you know, she's one of them. Looking at OC, I think Tamara is one of them because she is one of those, like you said, will actually come in and produce. Sometimes a little too much, but I think she's vital to the show. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but like, what they're doing is not working, and it's to the surprise of nobody. So there's that. In New York, not Sonia. Ramona is essential to the show. Sorry about it. You can't do it without her.
But she's not producing the show.
No, you can't even produce her. Like, imagine a producer coming to her. I've said this in my own show, and like, oh, Ramona, we need you to really kind of like for this. We need you to really be upset about this. Like, let's not let this go. She'd be like, what? Like, she wouldn't be able to follow that.
She could not take instruction whatsoever.
No.
I'm nervous for New York. New York is my fave, and I'm nervous. I'm like cautiously optimistic about this upcoming season because I don't know how it's going to feel without the two anchors of both Bethenny and Deandra, because both of them were producing the show. How is it going? Aren't we going to be a little bit twisting in the wind?
Well, the only thing I can think of with Deandra is something must have happened behind the scenes because people haven't kept on for doing far worse. I don't understand the reason to get rid of her. She's all over their branding, by the way, Deandra. I don't know if they realize that, but like Deandra is a big part of the Bravo brand that they built. And like, we're talking BravoCom, we're talking BravoTV.com, we're talking Watch What Happens Live. Like, she's a big part of it. So that's a big, like, black mark. I don't know what the hell she did real life to get thrown off. I imagine she was extremely difficult and probably verbally abusive to producers. I'm imagining this. But
I'm nodding my head.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, what a mistake when we've got so many other people on these shows who are just like horrible people and they've had terrible seasons and they've been collecting a check and we've got to have, you know, Deandра's out. I mean, whatever. I don't really even know what else to say. The decision's been made. She'll be missed. I'll miss seeing her. If they were smart, they'd pull her in at the end, but they won't.
If they were smart, they'd pull her in the end, but they won't.
Nope.
Salt Lake City.
I'm watching it again. Unpopular opinion. I'm enjoying it. I find it kind of like a cozy watch. Like there's something about like the snow and everything. Like I just kind of feel like it's like, I don't know. I enjoy it. I'm warming up to the show quite a bit.
It's boring.
Yeah, I like it. Here's why I like it. It flashes back to old Housewives for me, which is why I got into these shows. It's not about the fight of the week. It really is about what these women have going on in their lives. And they don't put them together every week or every other scene at a lunch or a dinner. It's a lot of isolated stories. Now, there are these constant parties that they have at that Jen Shah's house.
See, I feel like they are constantly doing huge 7-people group scenes or 6
really?
people group. That's how that is my experience watching it.
Interesting. I mean, I can see that in the beginning, but I don't know why we have to have all these parties at Jen's house. Like I'm sick of that. But I don't know. I feel like they each kind of have like, this is what I like about it. And this is what they should have done all along with the other states. They each have a personal story that plays out week to week. And I don't mean like at the beginning and the end of the season, and then the text comes up on the screen and go, so-and-so is still figuring out their marriage. Like, no. That's the storyline. And then they have group collective scenes and trips and stuff like that, but it's supposed to be about the housewives. I'm tired of it being about these petty arguments, and that's why I freaking hate Beverly Hills. What a horrible show that is. Poorly produced garbage.
Can I tell you something? Nothing is going to be more compelling this spring than the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You're gonna have to get on board.
And let me tell you why that's not. Let me tell you why that's not going to happen.
Tell me.
Because Erica Jane is not going to talk about a goddamn thing.
Yes, she will.
She is not. She's going to say, "My lawyers told me I can't say anything," or she's just going to lie through her teeth and say she had no idea what was going on.
Here's why she will.
And she's going to walk around without makeup on. That's what it's going to be. She's going to walk around without makeup on so we can feel bad for her that she can't afford the glam squad.
Here's why she will. She needs it. For the first time in her life, she needs to secure her spot and show. I talked about this. I brought on a real former LA prosecutor to like break down the Girardi case. And I was saying in there, like, she, for the first time, needs the show. She would have been doing it for free this whole time. Now she actually needs the paycheck to survive, to pay her damn rent.
And see, I respectfully disagree because I think that she's got this storyline now for at least the next 2 or 3 seasons that we're going to want to follow her and see what becomes of this and who the new man is and what happens to the performances. So I think that like she was at the end with what's his face, and I was calling for her to be out a long time ago. I think she's a terrible housewife, but that's my opinion. But now, because of this, there'll be such a public interest, they'll never get rid of her. So I think she's probably more secure than ever.
I think it's going to be good.
I have zero expectations.
How do you feel about Kathy Hilton filming confessionals?
Okay, well, this is the thing about Kathy Hilton. I'm a big fan of hers, but all these people automatically, because she posted this picture in front of a green screen. Now, everybody's a big Kathy stan. Everybody thinks she's incredible. How many people actually watched her on NBC with I Want to Be a Hilton back in the early 2000s? Like, I've been following her for years. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's a Kathy aficionado. So, yeah, she should have been on the show years ago. I hope she really calls out Kyle for some fakery, because that's the real deal. If she's just going to sit there and be a puppet of Kyle and a +1 for Kyle, that's not going to cut it for me. So we'll see. I feel pretty good about it. But all these people all of a sudden are such huge Kathy fans. I mean, like, okay, I've known about the Hilton dynasty forever. Like, this is nothing new. So.
From what I understand, she is a rather like light and fun personality, right?
I mean, I think she's pretty opinionated, which is what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So
but like, she's out
she's
there.
The harder of the sisters, I think.
The harder.
She's a little more direct, you know? Like, Kim is like floating off in space. Kyle is trying to appease everybody. Every person's that they can shop online at the store. And then you've got Kathy, who really doesn't need to impress anybody because she's got that money.
Did you watch the Paris Hilton documentary?
I did, yeah.
What did you think of because Kathy got a lot of heat.
I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, I can and I can't, but I don't know. We're talking about the kids at the school and the mother not being aware.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can understand why it makes her look like a bad mom.
That Paris she claims she was kind of being abused.
Yeah, I can understand why it makes her look like a bad uninvolved mom, but that's honestly, I'm not giving them any, like, you know, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, I'm not cutting any slack for them, but like, that culture of like those parents that send their kids off to boarding school, I mean, they really don't know the day to day, and there's no way for that girl to communicate. I'm not defending any of this, but like, I'm also not surprised. Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised that Kathy was in the dark, because that's like what that lifestyle is like, send them off. Your life is over there. My life is over here. We see you a couple times a year. Like, you know, it's unfortunate. And the school took advantage of that.
Did you see the episode of Watch What Happens Live with Jen Shah and the comedian Michelle Buteau?
No, I did not.
You need to go and watch
this. I think that girl, that Jen, is so overproduced for herself. She's producing herself. I don't think the producers are doing it. I think she is. I don't care for her. We don't need her, but we do, but whatever.
She's the reason that I kind of shy away from Salt Lake City. I actually kind of like the rest of the cast. Like, I do like Lisa Barlow, and I like the whole Meredith Marks, like the Marks family. I'm into the husband. I'm into... It feels, although it does feel very produced, like every episode, okay, in one episode we're going to break up, and the next episode we're going to talk about getting together, and the next episode we're going to have a kiss between the husband, and then the next one, and by the end we're one big happy family again. Mm-hmm. But I like it. It feels like almost like Full House or something.
Yeah, I mean,
comforting. Yeah. The way you said it's comforting,
yeah,
it comforts me.
It is, but my biggest problem with that show is that Meredith's house. That house is just so in need of a makeover. I mean, to the point where it was flooding. I mean, like, I don't know what, I know she said like they moved into it recently or whatever, but like, You're on television. I would hurry that up before the cameras even showed up. Or I'd have to be part of my storyline. I wouldn't show it as is and be like, oh yeah, we got to work on it. Oh yeah. That would be the storyline. I think that's what you're going to see with like, finally with Margaret, like we're finally going to see that house made over, which looks great on the Instagram. But yeah, I mean, I don't care for the house. That's my biggest problem with the Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City.
The Brooks house. Oh, please.
The reason why I brought up that episode of Watch What Happens Live, and you need to see this.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
It was one of the most bizarre, unchained episodes that I have ever seen.
That show needs it because that one over there, the card reader, can't accept any change or deviation from the cards and the teleprompter. So I'm glad that there's an organic element of conversation finally playing out.
It was not organic at all. Literally, because this is still all over Zoom. This is what's happening. Jen, it's one. You got one square. You got Andy. One square is Jen Shah. The other square is this comedian Michelle Buteau, who's very funny.
Yeah, I like her.
Jen, every time they would come back from break, has a new prop. A microphone that's like, reverberating like the sound. She's got a fan. She's like bringing props to her Watch What Happens Live appearance. It was so uncomfortable to watch because she was just trying so hard.
It's desperate.
There was zero authenticity.
Oh, I thought it was different.
The comedian who was trying to promote her book, like she literally was doing it from like a trail or something she was filming, I think in Atlanta. At one point, she stopped speaking and just held up a copy of the book. And Andy was just like embarrassed.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to be the host of the show, I think, right? I mean, like you don't lose control of your show, dude, but okay.
When you were living in LA, when you would make your trips to New York to visit, did you ever get to sit in the audience of Watch What Happens Live?
Yes.
And how was that? Who were the guests and how were those experiences?
Zoe Kravitz was a guest. But it was one of those off episodes where it's like, no, I'm not watching What Happens Live to see, celebrities. I wanted to see like some of the reality stars.
Like a housewife.
I would have been thrilled to see someone honestly thrilled to see someone as small as like, what's her face? The original housewife on OC, not Vicky, the other one, her neighbor across
Gina
the street,
Keogh?
Gina. Like just to see someone like her drop that, I would have loved just to watch. I don't really care about seeing celebrities. That doesn't do anything for me, but I want to see these people who think they're a huge deal and they booked a late night show and they're showing up and they're wearing Givenchy to sit and next to Andy. So that's what I want to see. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of reading going on the show. I don't mean shade. I mean, there was a lot of card reading and prompter reading and note cards and all types of things going on. I don't think there was much happening.
Spontaneity.
No.
I went exactly one time because a friend of mine is very close friends with one of the big producers over there. And guess who my guest was?
Who?
If I couldn't, I mean, I guess it would have been great to see Bethenny.
Oh, I was gonna say Bethany.
No, I guess if I could have picked it.
Yeah.
But luck of the draw, although I was strategic in saying it must be a Wednesday night. She's like, what, give me some dates. I'm like, any Wednesday night during these 2 months, because I knew I would get a New York housewife. I rolled the dice. I got fucking Carole Radswell during her last season, during the Bethenny and Carole fallout.
Yeah. Everyone was on different sides.
I mean, the people who I was with were very, very proud and excited for this.
What happened to her?
Carole?
Yeah.
I still like Carole.
Yeah.
Did you follow the Reddit explosion that happened?
I read something. It was, I saw that whole thing about the deal, the TV deal and all that with Bethenny and the producer or whatever. I can't summarize it for your listeners because I don't really remember it, but I read it.
It was basically, the crux of it was someone on Reddit exposed the real problem between Bethenny and Carole was Carole's best friend, Cassandra Gray. Cassandra Gray used to be married to the head of fucking Hollywood, this guy Brad Gray. He died a few years ago. And the summer before season 10, which was the epic Bethenny and Carole season, the summer before, Well, prior to that, she and Bethenny were legitimately friends, hanging out every summer, spending time in the Hamptons. She would co-host Bethenny's radio show when she had it on Sirius XM. They were legit friends because I like followed this like really closely, and I genuinely loved both of them. The summer before filming season 10, Carole lived in LA for like a month to take care of her best friend whose husband had just died.
Yeah.
Bethenny made a trip to LA, made plans with Carole to, I don't know what. I think Bethenny was taking meetings in LA to like get a deal going. Because I think Bethenny and Frederick had already combusted.
Yeah.
She was trying to get something going.
No surprise there. Yeah.
She was trying to get something going. And Bethenny, this post alleges, this inside source alleges that Bethenny was annoyed or angry with Carole that she never made the introduction between Bethenny and Cassandra, who was connected through her
deceased husband.
Through her deceased husband.
Yeah.
And that was the crux of it.
Oh, yeah. See, and these are the things they can't talk about on the show, which sucks because that's the reality of the reality.
Well, they talked about it a little bit at the reunion. She did say your friend, like it was brought up, but not in extensive detail.
Yeah.
You want a fun fact about this whole thing? Cassandra Gray has been in like a 3-year relationship now with Samantha Ronson.
Oh, really?
You like that?
Wow, did not see that coming.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, go on Instagram. Have a field day.
Samantha Ronson has been busy.
And now Carole, Cassandra Gray, and Samantha Ronson are a trio. Go
really?
Look it up.
A trio in what sense?
Like hanging
Bed
out.
hopping or hanging out?
No. Hanging out. Pre-pandemic, there are lots of pictures of Samantha Ronson and Carole Radswell all about town in New York, LA, like everywhere.
Interesting.
Everywhere.
Well, that's what the latest, the Carole Radswell update is.
There it is. I love
Interesting.
her. I know. I don't know why so many people dislike her.
I mean, I never felt really either way super strongly about her, but she did keep a kind of a realistic voice on the show. And I like that they actually covered her opinion about the election. They went there, they didn't pretend it wasn't happening, which I appreciated. But yeah, I mean, there kind of might be a place for her. I don't know, like who's going to be that like voice. I don't know who's going to be that voice this season.
That may be my most unpopular opinion. Something that I don't like shout from the rooftops because people maybe actually now that this election is complete and like everything, Carole was tweeting about, like it has all now like come to fruition.
It has.
Even the stuff that like Hillary is now tweeting, but I think perhaps the tide is now turning on in Carole's favor. But I don't really say it too loud because for many years, it was not the popular.
The tone of Carole's story was always kind of a little downtrodden and sad. It kicked off with the death. Like that's how she was kind of introduced as like this widow.
Well, Dorinda too.
Yeah, but it's just Carole. There's a certain energy there. Kind of like in the past, who she was, who she wants to be. Only a couple good summers left. Like there was just kind of always a kind of a grounding theme with her. But I mean, I don't dislike her, but I don't know.
But those are all the reasons I liked her.
Those were great days. Like those were such great days
of
the show.
They were great days.
But
great days.
Now I think the whole show belongs to Leah McSweeney, which I we'll see how that goes. I like her, but do I love her to be the center of the show? Not really. So not really.
Not really. How do you feel, or maybe you don't feel anything surrounding the fact that she is already changing her physical appearance? Like this new season that we're about to start, she had already gotten her nose done, and she's very like vocal about this. Now she got her boobs done like over Christmas. How do you? It's like we know what you look like. Even Kyle Richards got a nose job within the last 4 months. There was a picture that was posted recently, an all-cast photo. I think Garcelle posted a photo and people were commenting, like, what's up with Kyle's face? They're like, why does she look so swollen? Like, what's going on with her face? And she commented on the photo saying, I had just gotten my nose done and it's like, we know what you look like. We've been staring at you for over a decade.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's that's when that's when the show takes over is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? It's like they know their worth. They know that they're going to be like looked at by a lot of people and they want to invest in themselves for the show. And it's like, season 1, she was kind of just doing it. I feel like now it's like all of her. So she has to
who
like,
are you
get
referring
into
to?
it. Leah. I think
Leah.
it's like now like all of her. That's like her identity, you know what I mean, is being a part of this show. So she's going to go in and get all these tune-ups. Where in the first season, I feel like she wasn't going to change herself for the show, but now she will.
She looked like she was so naturally pretty, like such like a natural. Like there was literally nothing to do at all.
It's so funny. Like even someone like Margaret Joseph, who I like though, but yeah, I mean they come in and they're like so authentically themselves, flaws and all, and then they like morph. They morph over time, and it's like like they're not even really that honest about it either. I mean, in this case, Leah is, but I mean, we all can see it. It's I don't know. I'd like to see someone not do that.
Deandra, yeah. Can we talk about Deandra? And I don't know how. Like, have you been watching Dallas?
I watched the first episode of Dallas. I fell asleep for about 10 minutes in the middle of it and woke up at some slip and slide party, and then at the end Dr. Moon, the new housewife, pulled Brandy to the side, and I was like, don't care about this, and luckily the episode ended.
I mean, that really sums it up. You did a great recap.
Thanks.
That was a great recap.
Yeah.
I do like Dr. Tiffany Moon. Do I care enough to watch like an entire show filled with nitwits that are like supporting her? Like, or meaning like, supporting characters to her. Like, I really,
No.
I just don't care. Maybe like my biggest.
Well, the ratings were horrible. Nobody cares, unfortunately. The show is pretty much, this has to be the end of it, I think.
I know you love to hate The View.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do watch The View.
And you watch Wendy, right?
I do watch Wendy, yes.
Let me hear it.
Well, so The View, I was like, okay, I have hated on The View forever. There's a video of me, my grandmother, my sister, and I, we recreated The View when I was like in middle school. Like, I mean, this has been something. Meredith Vieira hanging on the end of the day. All she could talk about was sex. Like, I just remember The View being a joke forever. Joy with Star, like the segments were like barely, like someone's getting paid to produce those segments. And the show has really evolved, or in some cases devolved. If you look at like the Sherry Shepherd years, I mean the Rosie years. I mean, it was just like,
you didn't like the Rosie years?
It was great TV, but for what it was supposed to be, like it just was like women like fighting. It was just like, it really was just kind of like not what it was. They marketed it one way and it was another whole thing, and they knew what they were doing. But I enjoyed the Rosie years, just for all the wrong reasons. It's like when I say I love Scientology, yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
It was a joke. But yeah, so The View, it's funny because I was like, you know what? All the shows are coming back. It's the new year. I'm just going to embrace that I'm going to watch The View, and I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to watch it, get their take on things, because it's broken up on YouTube in a couple clips in like 20 minutes or less. I can get their take and move on, and I'll add it to my rotation, right? And then Meghan McCain came back, and her and Joy had the moment, and I was like,
and she's like, I didn't miss you at all.
I was like, this is why I have such a hard time with the show, because on one end, I live for this stuff. I love to see it because it's so trashy. And then the other end, I'm like, why do I continue to indulge in this with these women like screaming and arguing with each other? And the show has no substance. It's under ABC News, and this is the content that they're putting out. Like, it's really kind of an embarrassment. It shows the state of our media, and it is serious. So like, there's that side of things. But then there's also like, these people take themselves so seriously. This is a literal daytime talk show, but it's under ABC News. It's ridiculous. So the absurdity of the whole thing, I mean, I can't look away.
Have you ever gone to see it live?
No. That was another whole story that I had on my podcast. No. I put in for tickets and I was here and I put the wrong email address. I went on and I said that they denied me admittance. I didn't get my tickets. They rejected me. I never got a response, but they did. It just went to another email address. And now that I live here and there's no audience, I don't know when I'll ever go, because when they do reopen, I'll be working. So I missed my opportunity. Who
would be your dream panel?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'd have to really think about that. I mean, because like Rosie's done. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I hate Barbara Walters to this day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still have the Barbara Walters Award for not knowing when to hang it up on the podcast. I mean, well, I don't know if she's hung it up. I mean, we haven't seen her, but
she's hung it up mentally.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I still keep that out there. I don't know. I mean, it's so weird to think about that question because there's the complete stupidity of Sherry Shepherd on one end that can be just so entertaining. But then you have to think about what the show is supposed to be. I think Meredith Vieira should really go back to the show. And she should be the new Whoopi because Whoopi's been phoning it in for years. She's perked up a little bit since she can do it from home, but she's still on camera eating a bag of chips. I mean, eating lunch while you've got a 40-minute live show. Can you stop eating, please? Can you just show up?
I am dying to talk to Michelle Collins about really get the truth because
she's danced around that so long.
She will dance around it, but
she does.
I want to do an hour on her or more on her. I'm dying to talk.
I would love to hear that. Yeah, she's a hard one to pin down. I've heard things about that. But
why do you think she was fought? Why do you think she couldn't last more than a season?
Because she was brought on to be the pop culture chick, and then the producers.
Did she replace Jenny McCarthy, or Jenny McCarthy replaced her?
She replaced Jenny McCarthy because Jenny McCarthy was on when Barbara left. Barbara was not on when Michelle was there. The thing is, the producers and the casting director, they had to have known what the direction of the show for the season was going to be. Instead, they switched gears 2 months into the new season, and they put Michelle on this, which I believe was this one episode guarantee a week on a Friday. And it's no, you can't do that. You're paying this chick. You can't do that. That's just such poor planning on their behalf. And that's why I say it's the worst produced show on television. But it's working out in their favor right now. It's really working for them. I know the ratings are supposed to be good. But can somebody please, the same way I'm upset about Whoopi eating, can somebody please put Joy's camera into focus? Have you noticed this?
Yes.
Her camera is not in focus. It's anybody directing
Steve.
The show.
It's her husband, Steve. He can't quite get it right.
Is anybody directing the show? Send someone over there to do it. It's ridiculous. That drives me crazy. You have no idea.
Final thing.
I'm so upset about The View. You don't even know. I'm seriously reeling about how awful it is. But go ahead. But yet I still watch. I hate watch TV.
Final thing.
Yes.
Wendy Williams. This is the voice we need. This is the voice. This is the only voice I want to hear about Ilaria and all the rest. She is the pundit that I go to. But I want her to, she's trying to play the game because she still wants to be able to get Ilaria back on the show. Mm-hmm. She's too nuts. She used to be fucking vicious. When her I used to listen to her radio show fucking 20 years ago. Her appearances on Howard Stern, she and Sandra Bernhard were his two best guests. But now they can't do it anymore because they're relying on these public people to be guests on their own shows.
Yeah.
But she is a vicious motherfucker.
That's the problem is, they did bring over, I think it might have been the booker from The View, believe it or not. They did bring on a booker in the last couple of years that was much better than what she originally had. So they were able to go for more, like you were saying, those names, but it's just to the detriment of the show. Who cares? I'd be fine. They had Ray J on 8 times in a season. That's fine.
She plays to the Housewives audience a lot.
Yeah. It gets clicks and hits. That's why the Housewives do get clicks and hits, and that's, fading. But so that's why everyone's kind of looking for what's next. But, it's to the detriment of the show. She's been a little crazy too. You've seen the behavior. So I don't know, but she's on some type of upper, allegedly, I'm guessing, because from the holiday episodes into the new year, she's really on it. She's enjoying it again. She's involved. She's actually answering the Ask Wendy questions. She's interacting again with the cameramen. Suzanne's back on camera, and it's moving, which I'm really liking this version of Wendy, but it can change on a dime. And I can only imagine it must be tough to work over there.
Oh, yeah.
But I need her to be a little bit less self-edited. I mean, she danced around the Jeffree Star stuff, too, with Kanye.
That's ridiculous. Why? What does she need from Jeffree Star?
I know it.
She needs him to come on her show again. Like, come on.
When she said that she became friends with Kris Jenner, I knew that was a big problem, because now you've got to answer to her, and doesn't she see this? That's all Kris Jenner strategery. That's her checking every box to make sure, okay, Harvey's not going to trash us, Wendy's not going to trash us. Oh, we're friends with Ellen. The late night guys.
You know what bugged me? I'm a big. Do you listen to Howard?
No, I don't. I don't have that.
Did not even mention. He was gone for weeks for Christmas and New Year's. First show back. I followed the first week of shows back. Did not even breathe a word about Alec Baldwin and Eladia.
Mm-hmm. See?
And that really bugged me. He would dedicate
He
would do 4 hours on Eladia.
We look to people like him to be able to not be everybody else. We know that, no one else is going to talk about it on mainstream. Like, Ellen's not going to get into it. I doubt anyone at NBC, in the late night department, is going to even broach that. So, but we're looking to people like Howard, who don't really have these loyalties. But he does, because they're friends. But, I mean, can somebody do their job the way that we're expecting?
Tell everybody the Ask Wendy segment that you did on your Instagram the other day.
Oh, yeah. I was invited to a going away Zoom for an hour on a Friday afternoon for someone I've never met.
This was this past Friday.
Yes, that's someone I've never met. And I said, what am I going to do? I don't know who's going to go to this. I'm going to be on Zoom. They don't know who I am. I don't know who they are. I also want to be a team player, but do I go? Do I not go?
So you turned on your Instagram story. You said, this is my Ask Wendy segment. And you turned it over to your audience.
Yeah.
Do I cancel out of the Zoom? Do I attend to the Zoom, or do I not attend? I voted that you do not go.
The majority of the people said do not go, but the people that DM'd me all said to go. So what does that equate to?
What were the reasons? What were they
there
saying?
were no real reasons. One girl did give a reason. My friend Allie did say you should go, but just leave the camera on and just do your own thing. Just show up. But I'm like, even for an hour.
So what happened?
The meeting got canceled. So I didn't have to make that decision either way.
Our higher power intervened.
Yeah, but you know what? That's odd to me, because that was a going away party. Unless if the person strategically, or what I should say is specifically asked, just let's not have this, that's going to probably pop up on my calendar again, I think. Because who cancels someone's going away parties if to say oh, never mind, we're not interested anymore. So I don't think that's dead.
Grant, you're the best. You're my buddy. I can't wait to go to dinner later.
Yes.
Tell everyone where they can follow you and where they can listen to your podcast.
Well, me and my 91-year-old grandmother, we break down the whole Erika Jayne thing, because she watches and she was interested to talk about this. She's always got something to say about the May-December relationships. And my grandmother and I are talking about the maybe sex life of Erika and Tom. So where else are you going to find that? A 91-year-old perspective and a 31-year-old perspective. She's a guest every once in a while on the show, but people love her. And we're also talking about what we even kind of talk about on this show, TV, what's worth watching. We're looking at lists and kind of saying are we going to look at this? Do we like that? We do narrow it down to a few, but it's just disappointing. There's so much TV, but what do we want to see? We don't know. So
what's going to be the next Housewives show that you because last season you committed to recapping New York, and you had that experience. What's going to be the next show that you commit to? Every week I'm going to recap it.
Oh, I haven't even thought about that. I don't think any of them deserve it, to be honest with you. It might be New York, but I don't know. I didn't really feel like that was worth it for me too much, but it was glad to give extra content to people. I don't know. I was hoping that a new show would just blow me out of the water and I can go into all of that. But there's such an audience. So many of us want what's next. We want to find that show that's really going to be buzzworthy, and we're waiting, and then I'll jump all in.
I'm really so impressed because you started your podcast before all the rest. We all kind of followed in your footsteps in a way. Who was around before you?
I think Crappin started around my time. Before me was, I have to really think about this. If I'm talking about in the Housewives world, I can think of others who cover reality TV. But
Like, was Kate Casey doing it?
I don't believe she was doing it yet. Or maybe
Heather
we started
McDonald?
together. Or maybe we started around the same time. I don't believe Heather was doing it yet. I remember when she came on the scene. I mean, I definitely was not the first, but I feel like at AfterBuzz, I feel like I was the first to really be critical of them and not just straight up recap them.
You're a pioneer. And tell everyone just like where they can find the podcast, name of the show.
Yeah, Grant's Rants Hollywood Talk. I've been around for a while. Like I feel like it's like I've been promoting this show for years. But if you haven't already heard it, I'm sure most of your audience maybe has either considered it or said hell no, or they like it or whatever. But
listen to this
if
voice.
you
How could you say hell no
Yeah.
to this voice?
If you haven't given it a shot yet, or you want to come back, I would love to have you back. Like, there's just so many people doing this, and the audience is splintered, so would love for people to come and check it out. And, maybe you can add it into your rotation. It comes out in 2 different parts, so it's kind of bite-sized. You can kind of choose your own adventure on what you want to hear about. And the show comes out a couple times a month. It's not weekly, so you can keep up with it. Those who have a lot of shows, it's like, oh, I can't add another podcast. Like, I've had enough. This one you can because it's more bite-sized now. So I'm trying to meet the people where they are.
And where can people view your Ask Wendy segments on Instagram?
Oh, at It's Grant's Rants, ITS Grant's Rants. Yeah, there's a lot of stories that just pass the time. I live alone. I'm lonely. I have to put out the stories, and I need some advice every once in a while.
I love it. Guys, Grant will absolutely be back. He's around the corner.
Yes, literally.
It's awesome. You guys can follow me, Jess NYC, follow the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives, and Grant and I will see you very soon.